we've officially reached that age in cinema, that era, where not only do we make video game adaptations, we make movies about how the video game that got an adaptation was made. That's convoluted, but that's what we're making. Tetris was directed by John S. Bayard, and in here it stars Taron Egerton. The movie tells the story and recounts the events of Hank Rogers, a man who becomes absolutely entranced with an idea for a game called Tetris. But, however, to invent this game and make it as fantastic as he really will want it to, he's going to have to leave and go on a globe-trotting adventure to get everything required and everything necessary to make the game of his dreams come to life. Tetris is a great idea in the sense that we get a lot of epics about how things were made. We have like Ford v Ferrari, Air coming up as a movie about Air Jordans, and I feel like to generations who grew up with this game, this movie is probably going to be one of the most relevant and resonating films that could be with them, because this film is very good, and despite the fact that it's over the top, it's cheesy, it's highly stylized, it works. Taron Egerton is in here, as I said, as the lead character. He does a really good job. I won't lie, I don't know much about the real-life character, if it's a comparison of how much he looks like him or his mannerisms, but as for his performance within the film, it is fantastic. He has an absolute urge to him throughout the entire movie. There's constant energy, there's excitement behind his eyes, and he's fascinated, and he's in turn fascinating to me, an audience member, to watch on screen to see what he's going to do next. Because this movie is a quote-unquote epic, I'd say, for the gaming industry. It really shows how much work they put into these old games to make them the best they can. Because I feel like, as much as older games and arcade games back in the day, you know, we look at them now as the classics, and some people look at them as bad, but I feel like we don't understand how much work went into that back then, and this movie really shows that. It shows just how much they push the boundaries of technology to make these games, and the script is very smart in the way it does it. It really keeps a good pace going too the entire time, so there's never a slow moment. You constantly are moving, and again, this movie is stylized to death. The cinematography is quick, it's got zooms and crashes, and it's constantly in a movement. It's never just sitting usually on screen. There's graphics and CG all over the movie that's intentionally there. There's fantastic music choices in here also. Really great callbacks to songs from that era, and it really helped to set a tone and a mood, and I kept very excited. This is currently on Apple TV+, this is not in theaters, and I can honestly say this is a movie I could see in a theater and would have potentially worked. I understand the reason why not, though. There's just so many large movies coming out right now. This is probably a safer bet for any studio that wants to release this movie. For negatives in this movie, I would say, after a while, the cheesiness and corniness, while it is charming in this movie, and absolutely is part of why it's great, when they switch that off and they decide they're going to go over to hardcore drama, that's when the movie feels tonally off. It's been fun up till now, and even when it's being serious, it's doing it in a much more lighthearted way, almost through the eyes of our main character, and for it to switch to dramatic doesn't always necessarily work. One more issue I really have with this movie is, aside from our lead character, I don't feel like I really got to know anyone else within this movie. And another issue I did take was this movie feels very episodic in that it's like, you go here, you do this. It's not necessarily, for me, working the best throughout the entire film. It just didn't always feel like a complete film. It felt very linear and to the point of almost negative. However, though, this movie was a great time. I had a fantastic time watching it, and it's a movie that I really think is going to have an impact. If it can make it big, if it can get enough attention, it's something I can see people really want to talk about, because it's quite enjoyable, really, and it has some fantastic performances and a really likable way of being made. I'm going to give Tetris a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys always so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you all next time.